This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, I'm Sabrina Brown. Thank you for joining us. Topping the news tonight, the nation's leader on Grand Bahama today to address the Grand Bahama Business Outlook Conference. The Prime Minister bringing some encouraging news about the island's tourism sector and the construction of a brand new cruise port. Joan Davis-Roll was there.
We are so close to doing some big things in Grand Bahama.
It was the kind of news Grand Bahama's been waiting to hear. This as the movers and shakers who helped to make up this island's business community gathered at the Grand Lucine Resort for a conference billed as a premier business event on Grand Bahama's business calendar. In his address, the Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Perry Christie, in recounting the government's track record, disclosed the latest turn of events regarding an investor who is not only interested in the purchase of the Grand Lucine Resort, but has plans to totally transform the Lakaya Strip.
I want to just make a comment about a discussion as late as yesterday afternoon that I had with the preferred bidder. Late yesterday, we had a very positive teleconference update from the prospective purchaser who had expanded his offer to Hutchison, increasing the scope of and level of investments. He's now planning to involve 4 well-known brands in the operation of the hotels and casino. I'm speaking to it because it has now reached that stage where I regard it as real.
From one Grand Bahama project, the Prime Minister went on to another, the highly anticipated cruise port earmarked for East Grand Bahama, a deal he says his government is committed to seal.
We shall shortly conclude a heads of agreement with Carnival. I think we've finished our end for some time now, for a major cruise port in East Grand Bahama, which will benefit all of Grand Bahama, including Freeport. The new port will take 2 years to build, and within that time frame, we should also work assiduously with stakeholders, cruise lines, and the public to improve and enhance both the cruise ship port amenities, attractions, and cruise visitor experiences in Freeport, as well as to significantly increase the number of cruise ships calling at Freeport.
Riding the wave of possibilities this new cruise port could bring, it was during an interactive question and answer period that the president of the Grand Bahama Taxi Union, David Jones, called on the nation's leader to consider the poor man and to ensure that the average Bahamian is able to access those opportunities. The Prime Minister had this compelling response.
Nothing could work unless there's a spirit, of working together. Now, if there is something the taxi driver deserves, I don't care who questions this, if there is one person, who will listen to you, it's me, because I come out a taxi driver home. And so I am sympathetic, I'm even sometimes partial. So if your Minister of Tourism or the Minister of Grand Bahama have not given you satisfaction, before you say anything, I would expect you to find your way to my office and sit with me as the final court of appeal, because you want progress.
The Prime Minister stated that in order to ensure Grand Bahama's success, there must be a diversity of the economy, an economy which he says his government is committed to help turning around. Reporting for ZNS Network News, I'm Joan Davis-Roll.
Thank you, Joan. The Prime Minister's comments is viewed as a ray of hope for Grand Bahama's hotel sector, and it comes as the chairman of the Grand Bahama Island Tourism Board is giving a critical review of the island's tourism sector. He says the industry is in a state of limbo caused by the recent storm. He believes the industry can and will only rebound once the major hotel properties are back up and running. Italia Hall reports.
Scale of 1 to 10 right now, I think the tourism industry is as low as it's ever been. The chairman of the Grand Bahama Island Tourism Board, Russell Miller, says prior to Hurricane Matthew, the tourism industry was trending well. There was an increase in air and sea arrival as well as hotel occupancy, but Hurricane Matthew disrupted the momentum and changed the state of the industry.
Occupancies are down, airlift is down, international air arrivals down, hotels are closed. It's just not a very good situation.
The chairman says the winter season was completely lost with the closure of Grand Bahama's two major hotel properties, the Grand Lucayan Resort and the Memories Resort, as well as the discontinued flights by Sunwing out of Canada.
To this day, we do not know, we don't have any indication of when the hotels will open, if in fact they will open. So Sunwing took the position that without the room inventory being what it needs to be, we lost about 1,500 rooms as a result of Memories and Grand Lucayan. They pulled their flights, and they tried to work on a program where they could continue to provide service, but it just became impossible to do that.
This apparent slowdown comes as the Grand Lucayan Resort is on the market for sale. When asked about the prospects for that property, he had this response.
There is talk, and there's been several indications that a deal was being had, but again, nothing has come to fruition. But, we're optimistic. We're hopeful that a sale does go through.
Now, while the cruise industry is helping to some degree, Miller says the industry continues to struggle.
We've lost the summer program on the heels of losing the winter program, which means the year is a disaster. It's lost. We have no way to recover. The flights not coming to Grand Bahama is devastating in terms of hotel occupancies, revenues, spin-off business that would support, transportation, tour operators, restaurants, the Port Lucaya marketplace. It's just, it has a rippling effect that is very far-reaching.
The chairman says he believes the tourism economy of Grand Bahama will only get better when the two anchor properties reopen. He says then the Grand Bahama Island Tourism Board can go to the various airline partners and request that more airlift be made to this destination. It's Talia Hall, ZNS Network News.
Residents of Bimini are hoping that the Royal Bank of Canada will reconsider its decision to close that branch of the financial institution in May of this year. On Wednesday morning, the managing director of RBC, Nathaniel Benaby, met with some stakeholders at the Big Game Hotel. That meeting included the island administrator, business owners, hotel managers, along with the island's chief counselor, Robbie Smith. Residents and some local business owners were not allowed to be a part of that meeting and were turned away. Chief Counselor Smith calls it a disappointing situation and says residents were not able to voice their concerns about the pending loss of the only financial institution on the island.
I think their mind was already made up, and I think they really, there was no hope for us to even try to keep them around, because they said everything now they're saying is going to be push button, but it still didn't set in right with all of the few business owners what was there, and they only allowed a few of the business owners to sit in the meeting, so they didn't really talk to the whole public, and which that's something I really disagree with. They want to leave the machine here, but no hands-on person that if you run into a problem to talk to. So it's like they set for the date that they're going to be shutting down, and they mindset, and that's it.
He says this move will make it hard for some residents to operate on a day-to-day basis.
Everybody have to have an account, so if if I have to write a check for somebody who does some work in my yard and he doesn't have an account with RBC, then he's locked with a check in his hand. So it seems like it's going to be a big problem. So hopefully we get somebody else in here real soon.
This is the busy season for firefighters over in the nation's capital. Fire crews were kept on their toes over the past week as they tried to manage a blaze at the city dump that threatened a nearby residential community. Tonight, Grand Bahamas Fire Chief explains what you can do to safeguard your property during this brush fire season. Dry and windy conditions are considered to be the perfect storm for brush fires. The season starts in January and runs through May, with March and April being the peak period. Chief Fire Officer on Grand Bahama ASP Ernest Hanna says so far it's been an active season, as firefighters have been called to more than 130 fires, most of them bush and rubbish.
We are able to deal with all the bushfires so far for this year without losing any buildings. It was not the case last year, but we are thankful that we haven't lost any buildings so far.
Although weather conditions have been very dry, fire officials believe most of the fires have been started by the human element.
For instance, persons may light a small fire and they are under the illusion that they can protect the surroundings or their home from the fires, but with the breeze and the heat and the fuel load, the fire gets out of hand, and then you call the fire department. We may have already been inundated that day with calls already, and when our manpower or equipment are stretched very, very thin, that poses a danger and a concern for us in fire services.
He says Hurricane Matthew has also left behind some concerns for the fire department.
There is an additional amount of fuel load on the ground, debris from the storm, and some of it are cleared away, some are just pushed to the side, but this also poses an additional threat for the fires to us. If the fires are burning more intense, it is more of a danger to property.
The fire chief is asking members of the public not to throw bottles and cans into bushes, as this can also contribute to fires.
Reflection from the sun onto any glass or shiny metal sometimes can cause heat to be directed from that reflection onto the dry grass and the bushes, and that can cause a fire. That's how a fire can be started.
He's appealing to residents to ensure that there is a fire break around your home and any buildings you own.
A fire break can be a cleared area around your home or your business, at least about 30, 50 feet or more, that you don't have a continuous fuel load from the forest onto your home. This will assist us greatly if there's a fire in the area. That fire break will stop the fire short of getting onto your building.
Stay with us, there's more news after this.